In this video, I will be reviewing the slope-intercept form of the equation for a line. So here we have that form, y equals m stands for the slope, times x, our variable, plus b, and b stands for the y-intercept. So let's look at this line that we have graphed over to the right. I usually focus on the y-intercept first because that's a little bit easier. Notice that that crosses at -2. So -2 is going to be our b, or -2. Now I will find our slope. I'm going to pick this point and this point. Once again, for the slope, we are after the rise over the run, or the amount up and down divided by the amount over. So we have to go up 2 plus 2, we have to go over 1. So that is going to be +2 over 1, which is the number 2. Our slope, or the letter m, is 2. So 2x minus 2, and then we add y equals at the beginning. And we just found the equation for that line at the right. We only need to find those two things, the slope and the y-intercept. Now, there's some special cases where the format for the line might look a little bit different. Let's take a look at those. We have a purple line here, goes straight up and down, and we have a green line that goes horizontal. The green line would look like the equation y equals -4. Now, notice that there's no slope in that equation. There's no x, and that's because the slope is 0. So we could write this 0x minus 4, but 0 times x is just 0. So there's really no point to writing that. So we would simply write y equals -4. Y is always -4. Now, it follows that our purple line is going straight up and down. The equation for that line is that x equals 3. Now, notice in this case, we do have an x, but we don't have a y-intercept. And that's because this line never crosses the y-axis. So there is no y-intercept for a perfectly vertical line. And there isn't a slope either. This is a special kind of equation for a line that goes straight up and down. We just say that x is equal to whatever number that line goes through. So here's one kind of problem that you might run into. You are given the equation for a line like this, and you are asked to find the slope and the y-intercept. And with the equation, all we have to do is pick out the right values. The slope is going to be the number in front of x. So for this first equation, the slope would be 2, because it's 2x, and the y-intercept would be 4. A +4, but we don't need to write +4. We'll move on to the second example. Y equals -x plus 2. Well, the negative in front of the x means that our slope is -1. There's a hidden 1 in front of that x. And +2 means our y-intercept is 2. In this example, we have y equal to 5x. The number in front of x is our slope. That's 5. And we don't have anything being added and subtracted, and that's because it's 0. We don't need to write +0, but when it's missing, we would say our y-intercept is 0. Finally, we have y equals 3. That line has a slope of 0 because that's a horizontal line. And our y-intercept is 3. It does go through y equals 3. Right, let's clear that off. Go on to our next kind of problem. Graph the line y equals -3x plus 4. If we're asked to graph this line or find this line, we want to start with this y-intercept because that's the easiest point to plot. It goes through +4. right there. Now, the second part for this, we need to plot a slope of -3. And the way that we do that is we start out at this first point that we plotted, and we are going to go down 3 because it's a negative slope. 1, 2, 3, and we'll go over 1. Why am I doing that? Because -3 could be considered a fraction, -3 over 1. So our rise is -3, and our run, or the amount we go over, is a +1, down 3 over 1. Those are our 2 points, and we would graph this line to look something like that. It's not perfect, but close enough. That's the kind of line we would be looking for. Okay, let's look at another kind of problem. In this case, what is the equation of this graphed line? The first thing we want to find is our y-intercept. We could see it right here. It's 2. This is going to be more of a multiple choice style question. What is our slope? Let's pick a couple of points here and find our slope. I'm going to pick, sorry, I'm having trouble getting my pen to work, this point and this point. And we start out at the one at the left, and we have to go down. So that's a -1. And then we go over. So that's -1 divided by 1. Our slope is -1. Now we can put together our equation, or we could look for it in a multiple choice list. We are looking for the option that has a y-intercept of +2. We can see that D has a y-intercept of -2. That's incorrect. It does not go through this point. And we're looking for a slope of -1. We could see that A has a slope of 2, B has a slope of -1, C has a slope of +1. So B is our answer here. It matches what we were able to determine from the graph. All right, one more type of problem. Which line is it? So we're given an equation. This equation tells us the slope of the line, -1/3. It tells us the y-intercept. So let's look at these 4 lines that are given to us as options. And first, notice which ones go through +2. Well, this is +2 right here, and only A and B go through +2. So we can rule out C, we can rule out D, and we're choosing between A and B. The other thing that we know is that our slope is negative. Which one of A or B has a negative slope? Well, it's B. A has a positive slope, so that can't be the correct answer. We could check to see that the slope is -1/3, but we don't really need to because it's the only negative slope. So we can feel comfortable that B is the answer. Now, just to confirm that the slope is -1/3, I could pick that point and that point. My graph here is just a little bit off, but down 1, over 1, 2, 3. Down 1 is -1 over 3. It's -1 over +3, which gives us a slope of -1/3. Again, we're doing the rise over the run. All right, I hope that helps refresh your memory of the slope-intercept form of an equation. And now it's time for some practice. Good luck.